right. Shalom, shalom. Shalom. This is Azariah, giving our honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem HaMashiach Yahushua. Today's topic I want to go over an interview with Candace Owens and Rabbi Shmuley, right? This is supposed to be a debate about the Gaza wars. So, you know, it's if you've seen the video or the interview, you know, if you haven't seen that, I advise you to watch it because it's pretty entertaining. But I'm just doing a commentary over it because it was some things that I saw that I didn't agree with. So I just want to do a breakdown on it and just get my opinion on it, right? And I don't agree with Candace Owens, right? I don't agree with her lifestyle. I know she's married to a heathen. I pray that the Most High give her the understanding to repent and get out of there and marry someone of our own nation, right? And I definitely don't agree with a rabbi, right? Definitely don't agree with him or a Jewish man that are pretending to be Jews. So let's just jump right into it. So this is the interview, right? Now this is supposed to be about the Gaza wars, but it's got crazy and got out of hand. So if you haven't watched the video, I advise you to watch the video. It's pretty entertaining. All right.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley.
You have the Jew.
I'm not going to watch the whole video. We're not going to watch the whole video, but we're going to jump to some key points, some timestamps of some things that I didn't agree with. Right.
Jewish community beginning to call her not Candace Owens, but Candace Ovens.
People can see and hear evil, and what you are doing right now is an act of evil. We all recognize that Rabbi Shmuley is unhinged.
Candace Owens never met Michael Jackson. I was his rabbi for 2 years. She said that I killed him, that she would say the Jews killed Michael Jackson. You never said that I threatened to murder you?
No, I never said that you threatened to murder me. Don't cut me off. I did not cut you off.
Now she's fact-checking it? You're kidding me, right?
I
don't have a computer on me.
The Israeli Defense Force had dropped more bombs on Gaza than were dropped on Dresden. That is true. Do you accept that, Rabbi Shmuley?
You know, Pierce. I find this an astonishing debate.
You asked.
Wait. First of all, I don't. Wait. What do you mean it's true? Because she said it's true.
All right. So that was the intro. So we're going to jump ahead, right, to the 3-minute mark. Right. Some key points that Rabbi Shmuley was saying that I don't agree with. Right.
With the YouTube music app, you can discover remix.
Just pause that real quick.
Statement. So, Rabbi Shmuley, you won the toss. We didn't really actually toss, but we both agreed you can do this. You go first. Your opening remarks.
Thank you, Pierce, for having me, and Candace, thank you for debating me. I have spent my life bringing together the Black and Jewish communities, emphasizing that we share not only a history of shared persecution, but of spiritual promise. Today,
so as y'all see that he said we share the same persecution and spiritual promise.
Today we debate an American tragedy, a woman of unique eloquence who has abused that eloquence to become simultaneously the.
And if you watch this video, you're gonna see that this Jewish man is really the damn devil that the Bible speaks about. Right?
Foremost anti-Black rhetorician in all of the United States and the foremost anti-Semite in America. The state.
And I believe that he hates the so-called Black Hispanic Americans. I totally agree that he hates the so-called Black Hispanic Americans, Israelites, right? And he got a mean hatred for Candace Owens, right? If you watch the video, you see that this man hates Candace Owens. Right? Maybe because she's a so-called Black woman. Who knows?
Statements that Candace has made against her own community. All
right, so I want to start right there. Right? So he said that we share the same persecution and promises. Right? And we don't share the same persecution and promises because his nation, right, is going to be wiped away with. Right? His nation is going to captivity. Right? We don't share the same promises. Right? Our people, that repent and return back to the Most High, right? The Israelites, the real Israelites, our promises is what? The kingdom of heaven. His promise is nothing but hell and destruction and slavery and captivity, right? I want to touch on Let's go to the book of Daniel. It's like it. Let's go to the book of Daniel, and let's go to the book of in chapter 9, verse 11, because he said that we share the same type of history, but we don't. Our history can't be is you can't compare history to any other race or nation of people on this earth, man. Right? We went through the most, right? Daniel chapter 9, verse 11. It says, all Israel, he said, yea, all Israel had transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey the voice. Therefore, the curse, right? The curse is going back to Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? 15 on down. It says, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, right? The servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him, right? Because we sinned against the Lord, right? So this curse is upon the Israelites, right? It says, and he hath confirmed his word, which he spake against us, right? And against our judges that judge us, by bringing us a great evil, right? Under the whole heaven, right? It said a great evil, for under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. So you can't compare any atrocities, tragedies, what do you want to call it? You know, you can't compare that to what we went through, right? We went through so much oppression, slavery, right? Different type of slavery. We went through everything, man. What did the George man went through, man? That they can say that they have the worst type of history. They don't. All right, the George man don't have the worst type of history than the so-called Black Hispanic Americans. Man. We went through the Egyptian captivity, right? The Syrian captivity, right? The Persian and Mede, the Babylon, the Greeks, the Roman, the American, the Jamaican. We were scattered abroad, man. The transatlantic slave trade, right? The Silk Road slave trade, right? The Sub-Saharan slave trade. We was slaves for a long period of time, getting hung on trees, right? Getting whooped on our back, right? Getting burnt alive. Right? Our people went through the most. So you can't compare what happened to the six what do you say, 6 million Jews that died, right? Let's look up some information. So let's look at the Jewish Holocaust real quick. Watch this. I got this pulled up, right? The Jewish Holocaust. It says the Holocaust, right, was the Jew. It said Slovakia. It said the Holocaust was the genocide of European Jews during the World War II between 1941 and 1945. That's not even a long period of time, right? It said Nazi Germany and its collaborators, right, systematically murdered some 6 million Jews across German-occupied Europe. Around 2/3 of Europe Jewish population and murders. The murders were carried out primarily through mass shooting, prison gas, prison gas, and extermination camps. Chiefly, anyway, right. So it said, about 6 million Jews. Not gonna keep reading on because there's really nothing, right? Right. It says 6 million Jews was that got killed, right? Death toll, 6 million Jews were killed. See that? Around 6 million Jews, right? It says of the 6 million victims, most of them were killed. Most of those killed were from Eastern Europe, right? Or Poland, right? It says around 1.3 million Jews who had once lived under Nazi rule or in one of Germany allies survived the war, right? So it says only 6 million Jews that was killed, and what from a time span of 1941 to 1945, right? That's only about like what about 3 or 4 years, right? So how can you say, that our people had went through the same type of oppression, right? When our people went through the most, right? Let's get out of here real quick. So they didn't go through anything, right? Not really. We went through so much slavery and oppression. Let's go to the book of Joel, right? Joel, chapter 3, And I want verse 3. Joel chapter 3, verse 3. Watch this. It says, this is a slavery. This slavery that our people went to. It says, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, right? And sold a girl for wine that he might drink, right? So they was selling our people, right? They're going to tell you who. It said, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, right? These are two African nations, right? And all the coast of Palestine, right? The Palestinians are the Arabs, right? It said, what have ye to do with me, of these two African nations, right? And the Arabs, right? It says, will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, I will return your recompense upon your own head, right? Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my goodly present things, right? The children also of Judah, right? And the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. So they were selling the Israelites unto the white man, right? These Hamites, the Africans, and the Arabs were selling our people during the transatlantic slave trade to the Grecians, the Europeans, right? That he might remove them far from the borders. And we was living on that time on the west coast of Africa, and we was moved far from the borders that we was living at to here in America, the UK, right? The South America, right? Central America. We was everywhere. We got scattered everywhere, man. Right? Let's put up this information. This is the Encyclopedia of Americana, right? It says this. It says slavery was due to raids of Arabs and Hamites, right? The Hamites are the Africans, right? The sons of Ham, right? It says slavery was due to raids of Arabs and Hamites on Negro communities. So you had the Arabs and the Africans, right, coming on the land that we was at and taking us and putting us in slavery and selling us to the Europeans, man, the Edomites, the so-called white man, right? So you had slaves. I mean, you had that's a proof our people was thrown to slavery, man, right? Let's read this. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Right? You can't compare our history to their history, right? Because it's uncomparable, really, man. They said 6 million Jews. We're gonna put up some more information, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. It says, and the Lord shall scatter you among all people, right? Wasn't we scattered during the transatlantic slave trade, right? Wasn't our people was sent on ships, right? And was tossed to and fro throughout the whole world. It says, and the Lord shall scatter you among all people, and from one end of the earth even until the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone, right? Because once we got off them slave ships, they was teaching us their religion. It says, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease, right? Once we got off these slave ships, we couldn't find no ease because we still been oppressed, right? Over 400, 500 years, our people are still been oppressed, right? Getting whipped on, getting hung. You had the KKKs, you had the Jim Crow laws, you had everything, man, right? You had everything that they was doing to oppress our people, right? It said, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee a trembling heart and failing eyes and sorrow of mind, right? And our people was suffering, right, from depression. We hooked on drugs because the white man gave us these type of drugs and push them in our neighborhood, right? Our people is a first one fired, last one hired, right? We struggling, we in poverty, right? We bunched up in these projects, right? Our people is getting oppressed, right, by these so-called white men, these cops, all these cop killings, right? It says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life, right? It says, in the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it was morning. For the fear of thy heart within thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thy eyes which thou see, right? Because we see the oppression, right? We see the torture, the whooped on the back, the burnt alive, right? We see that, man. And that put fear in our eyes, right? It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again, right? Now, we just got out of Egypt, right? We just got out of Egypt, right? This is during the time of Moses in the wilderness, right? When he went to Pharaoh and said, let my people go, right? So we just got out of Egypt. Imagine he telling you that he's going to go, that you're going to go back into Egypt, back into slavery, back in the same condition that you just got, that you just came from, right? So he said, and the Lord shall bring you back into Egypt again, back into the same type of condition in slavery that you just came from. But this time it says with ships, right? It said the Lord shall bring you back, bring you to Egypt again with ships. Who was sold on slavery on slave ships? Like who was sold and got shipped on, they got put on slave ships and was shipped around the world, right? What race of people that happened to, right? It says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. We never saw our homeland, right? And there he shall be sold. And once we got off those slave ships, we were sold to your enemies. It said there you should be sold to your enemies for a bondman, which is a slave man, and bondwoman, which is a slave woman. And no man shall buy you. No man hath ever redeemed us out of this captivity, right? No one. We still here today, prisoners of wars, still living here in America, whether you in America, the UK, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, wherever you at, right? You're still a project. You still a prisoner of war, right? A captive, a slave, living in your land of your oppressors, right? Having them rule over you, right? They make the laws, right? If they want to kill you and get away with it, they can. And there's nothing you could do about it, right? So what race of people does that happen to? That happened to our people. So was the George man ever sold on slave ships? No, right? Are they dying by the numbers? No, right? If their life is in doubt, whether they should live this day or they're going to make it through the night? No, these men live in wealth, man, living in wealth type of communities. They own they own social media and all type of sports events and stuff like that. They own everything, man. So how can you say that these people, right, is living in fear or they going through so much oppression when they not, man? These people is living, they building houses, they breaking down houses and building new houses in their community, big houses, right? Mini mansions, so they can live comfortable, man. Right, while our people is stuck in the ghettos and the slums, right? So him saying that we share the same type of history, atrocities, no, we don't, right? Let's pull this up. Right, the death toll from the slave trade, the African Holocaust, right? It says 6 million died at the hands of white Christians imperialism, right? So this right here, when we read in the Jewish Holocaust, right, it says 6 million. This right here is way more, 60 million, right? 60 million. So that right there tells you that our history is not the same, right? Let's read right here. It said the largest slave trade in the history of the world was created by white Christians, European. Before it was over, as many as 6 million Africans would be killed for the profit of white Christians imperialism. A key reason for the high death toll was the tidal wave of war and desolation that the slave trade unleashed into the hearts of Africa. Huge number of people died being marched to the coast of Africa, right? Because they took us from the whole from Central Africa, right, to West Africa. Yeah, some people live in West Africa, some people live in the Central Africa. We had to march over to the West Africa borderline where all the slave ports was at, right? And there we were sold into slavery. So it says being marched to the coast of Africa from the interior. It said from the interior as well as in the endless series of war produced by the quest of new slaves. Millions more would die in the concentration camps at both ends of the sea journey, right? And significant number would die due to the impalling condition on the slave ships, right? It says the financial profit of this slave trade helped build the economic foundation of America. Damn, see that? We built America, man. We made America what it is today, right? Slaves, right? It was not just the South. Northern business interests made huge profit too. All right. It says, don't want to read this whole thing, but I just start from here. It says it is difficult to estimate the exact death toll. The results from the transatlantic slave trade. There weren't exactly people measuring these numbers at the time, right? What we look at are historical estimates, of how many people may have died and captured during the voyage of the sea and due to disease, starvation, and backbreaking labor in a new world, right? Because America is the new world, right? America's the whole west coast of this world, West Hemisphere, right? It's considered the new world. It said, but what is certain is that the slave trade was a genocide against the African people, right? And it's talking about the Hebrews. It said the transatlantic slave trade was also the largest long-distance current movement of people in history. The estimate of the number killed during the transatlantic slave trade varies anywhere between 1 through 150 million. Damn, I wish I had a bomb drop right there. It said the estimate number, man, that was killed during all this time was between 6 million through 150 million people, Hebrews, Israelites, that was killed. It said during this time. It said the official UN estimate is 17 million UN. However, we ourselves would be inclined to agree the figure of 60 million, given all the variables here, including the fact that during the entire period of the slave trade, African population did not increase. It says some may argue that this is because your stagnation of African population is a byproduct of the transatlantic slave trade. Right? I just jump down now. You see that? This is crazy, man. It's crazy. Let's see. Let's read right here real quick. It said the transatlantic slave trade took place across the Atlantic Ocean from the 15th century, right? From the 15th through the 19th century. This is about what 4 to 500 years, right? The Jewish people, when they went through it, was only about 5 years. This is about 500. About 5 years. This is 500 years of slavery. 400 years of slavery. How can you compare 400 years of slavery to about 5 years? It said the vast majority of those who were enslaved were deported to the New World, mainly on a triangular trade routes and its middle passage. Most of those captured were West African. The number of Africans brought to the New World were so great that they became the largest number of immigrants to be brought to the New World before the late 18th century. By 1820, nearly 4 Africans for every 1 European has crossed the Atlantic, and about 4 out of every 5 females that traverse the Atlantic were from Africa. All right. Watch this point right here. This is a good one. It said this was not the first time in history that Africans were kidnapped from their homes and enslaved. European and Muslims engaged in the slave trade. It said Europeans and Muslims. We just brought that up, man. That the Arabs had their hands in the slave trade, right? The Europeans and Muslims engaged in the slave trade for centuries before the colonization of the Americans. Yet the transatlantic slave trade further bled Africans of its people and resources. While it was not the only slave trade in Africa, like I said, we had the Silk Road slave trade, the Sub-Saharan slave trade, right? It was the largest in terms of sheer volume and intensity, right? So this right here tells you that our people was slave for a long period of time. All right, so let's get a little bit more on this, right? It says half of enslaved infants died in their first year of life. It says children suffered very high mortality rates in slavery. Pregnant women were not given much of a break from their work in the field. So they had pregnant women still doing much labor in the field, right? It said they still perform 3/4 or more the amount of work of non-pregnant women. Crazy, right? It says infant mortalities was high, twice as high as Southern white children. Half of all slaves died in their first year of life. First year of life, a major contribution to this high mortality rate was chronic, right? So you had a lot of people being killed, man. I was bringing diseases. It said death due to death due to disease and malnourishment was also common, given that slaves were fed low nutrition, purely starch based diet. Common symptoms of disease among enslaved population included blindness. It was included blindness, abdominal swelling, bowed leg, skin lesion, and convulsion. See that? It said common condition among enslaved population include, what's that, beriberi, whatever it's called, right? So we had a whole bunch of, abdominal swelling, right? Blindness. They were bringing all types of disease, smallpox, right? Herpes, AIDS. They were bringing all types of disease over here, man. Right? They still do, man. They still bring disease over here, right? You got the swine flu, right? All these different type of flu, the diseases and sickness and plagues. The white man is making that up, right? In his laboratories, right? It says no one knows the exact number of slaves who died in the New World. Yet in American Holocaust 1992, David Stannard estimate that some 30 to 60 million Africans died while being enslaved, right? He claims a 50% mortality rate among new slaves while being gathered and stored in Africa, a 10% mortality among the survivors while crossing the ocean, and another 50% mortality rate in the first season phase of slave labor. So how can you compare what their people go through to what our people went through? You can't, man. It's crazy that anyone would even think about this, right? Right. So let's go back. So I just want to bring that out. All right. Let's go back. So now let's jump ahead where I'm at.
They cry wolf and constantly say that they're victims of racism. Her attacks on George Floyd, a man who was suffocated to death for a $20.
I want to get something else real quick. This is, watch this. This is Book of Matthew, chapter 2. Right? Matthew chapter 2 and 1. Look at this, verse 16. It says, Herod slaughtered babies. It says, then Herod, right, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that was in Bethlehem, right? And it don't give you a number, but it could have been like they had 1,000 of children, right? And all the coast thereof, right? And so not just in Bethlehem, but the surrounding areas, right? It says from 2 years old and under. What type of man will kill infants, man? Innocent babies. According to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men, right? So you had our people, like I said, our people went through the most atrocities, killings ever. That you had these white people, Herod, right, killing our people, man, killing the babies, right? Killing the babies. Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 1, right? Same thing, man. Watch this last verse. Let's lock in. All right. This is Exodus chapter 1, verse 22. It said, and Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born, he shall cast into the river, and every daughter he shall save alive. So they was also killing the infants, man. During the time of Egypt, when we was slaves in Egypt, Pharaoh was killing all the first all the male child, casting them in the rivers, feeding them to alligators. Right? Was that people? Did the Jewish man in their nations, right? Did the Jewish people ever went through this? No. Right? We are reading about the so-called Blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans, right? Who the world calls niggers, spits, right? Negroes, Italians, Latinos, right? Our people went through the worst, man, right? So let's go back. Just want to touch that, get on that point real quick. Watch. Let's go to
the counterfeit note saying that he was a horrible human being. A woman who went up in front of CPAC and said, I was never a slave in America, as if that's the only form of discrimination, is what has led her community to call her not Candace, but Clandis. The first ever female Black woman who appears in her rhetoric against Blacks, calling LeBron James dumb and stupid, an icon to the Black community, as Clandis. Simultaneously, you have the Jewish community beginning to call her not Candace Owens, but Candace Ovens, because her Goebbels-style rhetoric against Jews, that Jews are nearly all pedophiles. The State of Israel will set up a Theodor Herzl, a pedophile, as a haven for pedophiles, that Judaism is a demonic, satanic cult that only protects pedophiles. And by the way, her absolute obsession.
He said that Judaism is his Senate stating, is a cult, a Satanism, right? Let me play that back real quick.
Saying that he was a horrible human being. You have the Jewish community beginning to call her not Candace Owens, but Candace Ovens, because her Goebbels-style rhetoric against Jews, that Jews are nearly all pedophiles. The State of Israel
Jews are pedophiles. What are y'all pedophiles? Right? I put up this information called Mitzvah Pava, whatever it's called, right? That they suck the blood from the circumcision of infants, right? Giving them all type of diseases and herpes. Look at this. Let's go to the video. Let's play this one.
2 infant boys have gotten the herpes virus after they got circumcised. Now authorities, including the health department, are investigating this case. Now, they were circumcised by an Orthodox Jewish family. It was part of their tradition. And part of the problem is after the circumcision took place, they applied something known as direct oral suction.
Matzitza b'peh is a practice that Orthodox Jews do when they circumcise baby boys. After they cut off the foreskin, the mohel, the circumciser, sucks the blood from the penis to sort of clean the wound. This practice really shocks people when they first hear about it, but it's a rigorously defended practice.
In the halakha, in Yeridea, that's the
rabbi.
second section of the 4 sections of halakha called the Shulchan Aruch, the set table.
And he's going to say that they can use other tools,
266,
but they still want to do it with their
halakha
mouth.
3, 4, 5, and 6, he describes how the circumcision is to be done. He says after the cutting, the mohel does what is called metzitza, and metzitza means to suck, and it means doing so with his mouth. And one could say, well, why can't you use a tube? Well, you could, technically, but that's not the custom as to how it was done. Now, why is it that way? Well, you could say that in the olden days you didn't have tubes. Now you can have tubes, so why not? The answer, as I thought about it, is that it's not as effective because the tube does not seal as.
Just say you want to do it with your mouth, right? Don't try to make an excuse of why you can't use a tool to do it. Just say you want to do it with your mouth, right? You want to put your mouth on infant males' private areas. Just say that. Say what it is.
As well, it's not as pliable, and furthermore, it's not as quick and it's not as close. You have to have a quick suction action. You have to have more pliability, and also there's a theory. Some people feel that it is. Some people feel that it's not.
He's enjoying this, man. He enjoyed doing that.
That the saliva of a human being has some antiseptic qualities, and it's actually brought in the halacha of the Talmud that the saliva.
You want to put your saliva on an open wound, causing little kids, little babies, infants, Jewish infants, they get diseases, man. Giving them herpes, all type of disease, man. That's crazy.
Of certain people were actually used as curatives.
That's it on that. That's all I want. So you see, when she called them pedophiles, that's why, because they are pedophiles, child molesters. Why would they even think about doing something like that? That's wicked.
Will set up a Theodore Herzl.
And that's custom. It's not written in the Bible. They got it from their own little written Talmud thing that they made up in traditions.
Pedophile as a haven for pedophiles. That Judaism is a demonic, satanic cult.
They are a demonic, satanic cult, right? It says that in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 9, that they will be called the synagogue of Satan. So what she said about them is facts. It's true, right? I just want to touch on that point. So I jump up to the 6-minute mark. Right, let's play from right here.
So Candace will get exactly the same amount of time. It's up to you, but it's an opening statement, right? And what I would say,
may I just say finally, if I may?
Well, if it's quick,
The biggest issue I have with Candace, to be honest, is that she claims to be a Christian. Candace, didn't Jesus say you're supposed to love your enemies? Is the love you show me that you call me filth twice on the last show that you did with Pierce a piece of filth? You're supposed to love your enemies. Is that turning the other cheek? And Pierce, you're an English gentleman. I've known you for many years. You allowed her to say that without even a piece of filth. When Jesus said that you're supposed to turn the other cheek, where have you ever turned the other cheek? When Jesus said that the meek shall inherit the earth, the arrogance, the nonstop attack against Jews.
All right. So he says,
the demonization. If you are a Christian, then I am the second coming of Christ.
Okay.
Crazy. So he said about loving your enemies. So I want to touch on that, right? About loving your enemies. And I want to get Matthew chapter 5. So this is what he's quoting from. Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. It says, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Right? Now, when Christ spoke these words, right, was he talking about the other nations, right? The heathens, to love them, right? Who was Christ's enemy during this time? His own people. His own people put him to death, brought up false witnesses, right? Got him put to death, man. Right? He was going against the leaders of Israel, right? The Jews, sorry, the Pharisees, the scribes, and the Sadducees, man, and all the elders, right? So when Christ said love your enemies, he was not talking about the other nations. Why would we love our enemies? Let's go to the book of Wisdom, Solomon, chapter 15 and verse 14. He's talking about your own enemy, of your own race, of your own people, your own nation. Wisdom, Solomon, chapter 15 and verse 14. It said, and all the enemies of thy people, it said, and all the enemies of thy people that hold themselves in subjection are most foolish and are more miserable than very babes. So it said, all the enemies of thy people, right? So he's not talking about the other nations. You had enemies amongst your own people, right? Was not our people killing each other? Hosea chapter 4, right? Hosea chapter 4, and I'm going to start verse 1. It says, hear the words of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, no knowledge of the Most High in the land, right? So the Most High have a controversy, slack for the mispronunciation, controversy with the Israelites, right? He has a against them. Why? Right? It said, by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood touches blood. Right? This is what you call black on black crime, right? Hispanic on Hispanic crime. Right? When I say blood touches blood, people is killing and stealing and committing adultery, right? And all this stuff is happening within our own community, right? You had the Northern Kingdom going against the Southern Kingdom, fighting in wars, right? So you had enemies amongst our own people. You had during the time of Saul and David, the house of Saul versus the house of David, right? Killing one another for sport, right? So you had enemies amongst your own people, right? So when the Bible talking about love your enemies, he's talking about love your own race of people, not to show hatred against them, right? Love your enemy. Let's go to the book of Leviticus, right? Chapter 19. Watch this. I'm going to bring up some more key point. Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17, right? It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So he's telling you, don't hate your enemies, right? Hate your brother. It said, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, right? Of your own race, right? But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord, right? Because you had enemies amongst your own people. Let's go back to the book of Exodus, chapter 23, right? It's like, hold on, make sure I'm still good and recording. All right, the book of Exodus, chapter 23, and I want verse 4. It says, if thou meet thy enemy's ox, right, of your own people, if you meet his ox, his animals, right, it said, if thou meet thy enemy's ox or his ass gone astray, thou shalt All right, so like, yeah, had something happened, so I'm back. All right, I praise to the Most High. So let's go to Exodus chapter 23 again. All right, and I pray that this is where I left off at. The book of Exodus chapter 23. Make sure everything is right. Verse 4. It says, "If thou meet thy enemy's eyes, or his ass gone astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him." Right? "If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, thou wouldest forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help him." See that? So if you meet the ass of your enemies, right, his animals, right, you gotta love him and do good by him, right? You can't hate him. If you see his animals, going astray, walking off, wandering, you got to return it. Hey, this is the animal of this guy that hate me, but I got to keep the commandments. I can't hate him. I got to love him as I love myself, and I don't want my animals going astray and I die and no one bring it back to me. So let me show the same favor towards him, right? So this is loving your people, right? Loving the enemies, right? It's not talking about loving the other nations. Why would we love the other nations when the Most High said that we're going to put the other nations to death, right? Let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, right? Wisdom of Solomon, no, Slakia, Sirach. All right, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 36. Sirach, chapter 36. And I'm starting verse 1. Right? This is the book of Sirach, chapter 36, verse 1. And this is a prayer prayer for destruction to the enemies, right? To the other nations, right? So why would the Lord say love your enemies when it's going to be the prophecy said there's going to be captivity to the other nations, right? Death and destruction to the other nations, right? So this is a prayer that Sirach has said regarding the other nations, the heathens. It says, "Have mercy upon us, O Lord God of all, and behold us, and send thy fear upon all the nations that seek not after thee." Right? He said, send fear upon all the nations that don't seek after the Lord. It said, lift up thy hand against the strange nations, right? And let them see thy power, as thou wast sanctified in us before them. Be thou magnified among them before us, and let them know thee, as we have known thee, that there is no God but only thou, O God. Right? He said, look, let your face be known among them, because we know you, right? We know the Most High, right? All the captivity he put us through. He said, let them know you as well, right? Let them see the judgment of the Lord. Right? It says, show new signs and make other strange wonders, right? It said, glorify thy hand at thy right arm, that they may set forth thy wonderful works. Raise up indignation. Say, rise up indignation and power out wrath. Take away the adversaries and destroy the enemies. See that? Why would Sirach pray to the Most High to say raise up indignation towards them? Right? Why would he say he prayed to the Most High to destroy the enemies? It said, make thy time short, make the time short, remember the covenant, and let them declare thy wonderful works. Let him that escape be consumed by the rage of the fire, and let them perish that oppress the people. And who've been pressing the so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Americans, the Edomites, the other nations, right? It says, smite and sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen. Right? He said, smite, kill, right? Slain them, right? Slain the rulers of the heathens that say there is none but we, right? Why would he tell pray to the Most High to kill these other nations, right? If Christ's going to say, love these other nations, love the enemies, right? Love the heathens. Why would Sirach pray for their destruction? Let's go to the book of Luke, right? The book of Luke, chapter 18, right? This is the book of Luke, chapter 18, and I want to start at verse 1. It says, now this is a parable of a prayer. It says, and he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men always to pray and not faint. So men should always pray, right, all the time. It says, saying that there is in a city a judge which feared not God, neither regard men, right? And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, avenge me of my adversary. Now this widow represent Israel, and the judge represent the Most High, right? So she's coming to the judge and say, avenge me of my adversary, avenge me of my enemies. That's what she's saying, right? And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubled me, right? And when you pray to the Most High, you praying for vengeance, right? You pray for that the Most High destroy the heathens that have been oppressing us, right? So when this widow came to this judge, that represent Israel praying to the Most High, right? It says, yet because this widow troubled me, right? And you got to send prayers to the Most High all day. You got to trouble him, right? Through your prayers, right? It says, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me, right? It said, and the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge said. And it said, verse 7, it said, and shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man come, shall he find faith on the earth? Right? So he said, I will avenge them speedily. Right? I will avenge them speedily. So the Most High is going to put the other nations to death. Right? If we continue to pray to the Most High, he says he's going to put the other nations to death, man. So why would we pray for our enemies when we see in Luke in the New Testament that the Most High, that Christ is going to destroy the enemies? He said, look, pray for their destruction, right? Look at the future prophecy of these enemies, right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 14, right? This is going to happen to the other nations, right? Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. It said, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them, right? So these strangers are the other nations, right? Of course, the Israelites, right, are the house of Jacob, right? The Black, Spanish, and Native Americans. It said, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them, right, in the land of the Lord, right? So we're going to possess these nations, these heathens, right, and the land of the Lord, which is Israel, for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, right, slaves, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So this is a prophecy that has not happened yet, right? That's going to happen when the Most High sent his son Yahushua to return, the second coming, right? That the Israelites is going to rule over our oppressors. Who's our oppressors? The other nations, right? They've been oppressing us for over thousands of years, right? So they are going into destruction. So why would we pray against the will of the Lord? Why would we pray against the will of the Most High? Why would we pray for our enemies when our enemies is going to get destruction? They're going to be slaves, right? That's going against the will of the Most High. So let's go back to this YouTube channel.
Christ.
Okay. That's 4 minutes you've spoken to. Out of fairness, Candace, if you want to use 4 minutes to respond, you can. All I would note,
timestamp 18 minutes.
On Gaza than were dropped in Hiroshima. This doesn't make sense to me. Gaza is 30 miles long, 7 miles wide. It's incredibly dense population. And this is, by the way, according to Haaretz, that 40,000 Palestinians have been murdered. I believe they're getting those numbers from the Gaza Health Ministry. And here's what I would like to say to you, Rabbi, since you're quoting scripture, okay? The one that's relevant to me is, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And if you'd like to dive into a little more scripture, I think what's relevant is Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley. The fact that you would try.
That's my favorite part. She said, whoa. She said, she's called this man a fake Jew, right? She called this man a fake Jew. She said, I'm speaking directly to you, Rabbi Shmuley, right? And let's get to the precept that she just quoted, right? Revelation chapter 3, verse 9. All right, let's pull this up. It says, right? It says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, right? Which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee, right? So these people that call themselves Jews today, they are the synagogue of Satan, right? That's what the Bible said. They are the synagogue of Satan, right? Now, let's go to some why is she saying this, right? Let's explain about these so-called Jewish people, right, that took over our land. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Chapter 36. Right now, who's living in the land of Israel right now? Right, the so-called heathens, right, the Gentiles. Watch this. It says, Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 5. It said, therefore, thus said the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, right? And against all Idumea are these Edomites, right, which have pointed my land into their possessions. Now, who pointed the land of Israel in their possessions? These heathens. They are living in the land right now, right? The Idumeans, the Edomites, right? So-called white people. They are living in the land. These Jewish people, Jewish, right? And I say Jewish because if you're acting, that's meaning that you're pretending to be a Jew. If I say that you're a grown person acting childish, that means that you're not a child, but you acting like one. So when you say Jewish, that means you're not a Jew, you're acting like one, right? It said, with the joy of all their heart, with despicable minds, to cast it out for a prey. So these heathens are living in the land of Israel right now, right? Let's go to the book of First Ezra, chapter 4. First Ezra, chapter 4, and I want verse 49. Right? It says, moreover, he wrote for all the Jews, right, that went out of his realm up to Jewry concerning their freedom, right? This when we was getting our possessions and lands back, right? During the time of the Persian Medes. It says that no officer, no ruler, no lieutenant, no treasurer shall forcibly enter into their doors, right? And that all let's see who was living in the land of Israel when the Israelites went into captivity during the time of the Persians and the Babylonians, right? It said, and all that, verse 50, and that all the country which they hold should be free without tribute, and that the Edomites, right, the Edomites should give over the village of the Jews which they held. these Edomites was living in our land when we got when we went to captivity, right? When we went into captivity, the Edomites took the land of Israel. They always wanted our land. That's why they're in our land now. When you look up the Balfour Declaration, right? When you got these so-called Jews, the Jewish people that was in Germany, right? That came from Russia, the Caucasus Mountains, right? Went to Germany, teamed up with Britain and America, Great Britain and America, to get the land of Israel, right? Because they always wanted our land. Let's go to the book of Judges, all right? And I believe it's the 3rd chapter. Judges chapter. All right. I don't know what's this. Judges chapter 3. Oh, this is Jews, like it. All right, Judges chapter 3. Here we go. The abbreviation was wrong. All right, Judges chapter 3, and I want verse, let's see, 13. Right, this is verse 13. It said, he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, right? Who's Amalek? The so-called Jewish man, right? It said, and went and smote Israel and possessed the city of palm trees, right? The city of palm trees is Jerusalem, right? So he had Ammon, the so-called Japanese, and Amalek, right? So-called Jewish man. They went to possess the city of palm trees. They always wanted our land, right? They can't get enough of it. They love our land, right? Let's go to the book of Luke. Let's see what the Messiah say, right? The black Messiah. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 21, right? They always wanted our land. The book of Luke, chapter 21 and verse 20. It says, now this is the prophecy about the 70 AD and the destruction of Jerusalem, right? It says, Luke chapter 21, verse 20. It says, and when, I want to make sure I'm still good. All right, it says, and when he shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, right? And to them that give suck. For there shall be a great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people, right? This is the point. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Now, when Israel goes to captivity and fall by the edge of the sword, right? It said, and shall be led away captive, right, into all nations, because that happened. We was led away led away to slavery in all nation, right? And Jerusalem, it said, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Now, who's living in Jerusalem now? Gentiles, right? Until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, until Christ returns, right? You're going to have Gentiles, heathens, living in our land, right? And she called this man the synagogue of Satan, right? So you see how these other nations is living in the land of Israel, and that's prophesied in the Bible, right? And she called this man the synagogue of Satan, right? That's Slakia. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 2, right? The book of Revelation, chapter 2. Now, let's see what the Bible's called these people, right? Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. It said, and I know thy works, and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy, the great lie of them which say they are Jews and are not. There's only one race of people that's walking around right now, right? That's calling themselves Jews. It said, but they are the synagogue of Satan, devil worshipers, right? They worship Satan. So when he said that they was what? I think he said they was demonic. That's true. What Candace Owens said was true. That they are demonic people. They worship the devil. They are the synagogue of Satan. Right. Let's bring up some history. Right. This is from the book called "Who is Esau Edom?" Right. We're going to jump to the origins of the Jews. Right. The Jews today. Now it says the Jews of today fall within two main types: the Sephardic Jews and the Ashkenazi Jews. The Sephardim are also known as Spanish Jews, right? That was in Spain, right? And it said and constitute about 5% of the Jews in the world. The Ashkenazims, right, are the Jews that you see today, really, are the Eastern European Jews, which were found in Poland, Russia, Germany, and Western Asia. It says this group of Jews make up 90% of the so-called Jews in the world. Many references in historical sources have unequivocally identified that the bulk of the Ashkenazi Jews were derived from a people known as Khazar, right, or Khazar in some texts. The original Jewish Encyclopedia of 1905 reveals that the main stock of the Jews came from this Asiatic people known as Khazars or Khazars, right? Because these so-called Jewish people, right? The Bible called them the synagogue of Satan, right? And we see that these people, right, before they convert themselves to Jews, and we call themselves Jews, they was known as the Khazars, right? They was known as the Khazars, which converted over to Judaism, right? And then they took our land. It says down the bottom, it said Khazars, a people of Turkish origin, whose life and history are interwoven with the very beginning of the history of the Jews of Russia. Historical evidence point to the region of the Urals as the home of the Khazars. Right. So let's go to the next next page. Khazars, right? It says, right, Khazars, it says the Khazars were a nomadic people who have no traces of Hebraic culture, right? Because they never kept the laws, right? These are Edomites. It said they have been following a pagan and sex-oriented religion, because they was phallus worship. They worship, penises. That's why they be sucking the blood off penises, man. Because they worship this stuff, man. They phallus worship. It says until they had officially embraced Judaism in 740 AD, while rejecting Christianity and Mohammedanism. The Jewish author and historians author culture also include that the majority of the Eastern Jews, European Jews, and hence of the world Jewry is of Khazar and not of the Semitic origins, right? In the beginning of this book, he states. So he said these people converted over to Judaism in 740s, right? In 740 AD, right? So these people are not the real Jews, right? They are Edomites. I'm just going to say it too, right? It says the best historical evidence, therefore, shows that the Jews are not descendants directly from the Israelites of the Bible, but derive much of their ancestry from Khazars, right? So they are not directly descendants of the Israelites, right? It said, and other people of Turkish Asiatic blood, the Khazars are also of Edomite stock, right? Who are the Edomites? The so-called white man here in America. They are of the Edomite stock, and both stock make up the present day Jews, as the historian H.G. Wells states. The Idumean Edomites were made Jews and a Turkish people, Khazars, were mainly Jews in South Russia, right? Georgia, Russia, the Caucasus Mountains, right? It says the main part of Jewry never was in Judea, right? It said the main part of Jewry never was in Judea and had never come out of Judea. So they was never living in the land of Israel and never came out of there, right? According to the Jewish Encyclopedia, right, the origin stock of the Khazar came from the land of Edom, right? The Khazars came from the land of Edom, Edomites that the Bible speaks about. You see that? So these people are not the original Jews, right? They are not our people, man. They are Edomites, right? Watch this. Malachi chapter 1. It says, I have loved you. Malachi chapter 1, verse 2. I have loved you, said the Lord. Yet he say, wherein thou hast loved us, was not Esau Jacob's brother? Said the Lord, yet I love Jacob, and I hated Esau. The Most High hates these people, right? Pretending to be our people, pretending to be the Jews, the real Jews, right? They took over our land. You know, it took over our culture, our heritage, right? Everything that the Most High promised us, they took it, right? It said, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness, wherein Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. This said the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the borders of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. All right, the Most High hates Esau. Right, let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 9, in the New Testament, and see what Paul said. He says the same thing. Romans chapter 9 and verse 13. It says, as it is written, right, when we just read the book of Malachi, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Right, so the Most High hates these people because they pretending to be out the true chosen people of the book. Right, so you're exposed, right? You're exposed, Esau, right? Rabbi Shmuley, right? You are from the synagogue of Satan. So what Candace Owens just said is true, right? You're not the real Jew, right? You're a pretender. Your people and your race, right? Your nation, they are pretenders, right? They are not the real people of the book, right? All right, let's make sure I'm still good. Now let's jump up again.
Try to say I am Jewish and this is what I believe and do and say the things that you are doing. People can see and hear evil, and what you are doing right now is an act of evil. The lies that you are telling, not just on me but also on my family members, are.
Let's jump up to
lies to maintain. Let's
go to this time set of 1 hour. Like I said, if you want to watch this whole interview, you know, you can look this up on YouTube.
It's about
an hour long, you know, so it's not that long. But like I said, this interview was very entertaining, and yeah, just watch it, man. All right.
Just Jewish people who are.
Do we really need?
Let's go to one jump up.
To be reaccepted, I think she can use her eloquence to apologize. Instead, she said she essentially.
This is the ending. It's just the ending, right? So he was the guy in the middle right here. I don't know his name, but I guess Piers Morgan, right? So closing statements. You know, they're supposed to say something good about each other, right? And this, you're gonna see the devil that's within this man right here, man. Rabbi Shmuley. Right, and he's really not a rabbi, man. This guy's a fake Jew, man. Right, rabbi means master. He's not a master, right? But anyway, right. So they were supposed to say something nice about each other. Candace Owens said something nice about him, but this guy cannot speak anything good because he's the devil that the Bible speaks about, right? And he said something else that we're going to get, and we're going to break that down as well, all right?
He hinted that the only reason she attacked the Black community for the past 4 years, calling them stupid and dumb and can't vote for themselves and cry wolf and racism, was because she was forced to do so at the Daily Wire. I call it the Daily Liar. Maybe that's correct, but I think she should take personal responsibility. Saying that Israel was created as a haven for Jewish pedophiles by Theodor Herzl is not the way she's going to repent. Saying that she defends Kanye West when he says he loves Hitler. Hitler killed 10,000 Jews a day, 3 9/11s a day for 4 years.
Okay.
Between 1941 and 1945.
I think we know the greatest.
Wait, 1 second, please.
No,
Piers.
I know the
And
greatest
wait, 1
hits are
second,
coming.
please.
It's fine. We've heard them.
But
All
you know,
I wanted you to
wanted
do was
speak.
say something
You
nice.
said I think she could use her.
Greatest hits
I
of how
think
awful
I think
Candace
she
Owens
could
is.
use.
That's how he started
I
this.
think she could use her.
He can't speak anything good, man, because he's a dead devil that the Bible speaks about.
Eloquence to repent. That's all.
Okay.
And I think finally that if Candace could just come forward and admit that as a Christian, Jesus said clearly that you cannot approach him except through the Jews. He said that the Jews are the root and Christians are the branch. The fact that we in the community consider her the #1 anti-Semite in America means that she cannot relate to Jesus. So I'm saying become a Christian. That's a nice, very nice thing to say. The fact that Jesus said, I am sent only to the lost sheep of Israel.
He's not an Israelite, right? He's quoting scriptures that he don't know anything about, right? He's quoting Matthew chapter 15. I didn't quote some other ones. I might have missed it, but he's not speaking on himself, man. You got to know that he's not the real Jew. He's a fake. He's a phony pretender.
Come and learn about the Jewish Jesus. You know what, Candace? I'll give you a free copy of my book, Kosher Jesus. It teaches you about the Jewish Jesus. The meek shall inherit the earth. Love your enemies. Turn the other cheek. Don't say, and stop calling me a killer. Stop saying I'm trying to kill you. You've said it over and over again. You are saying what Henry II said. Rid me of this troublesome priest.
Look, this guy don't know what he's talking about. The real Jews are black, man. All right, the real Jews are so-called black Hispanic, black people, but the real Israelites are the so-called black Hispanic Native Americans, man. This guy has no clue what he's talking about, right? Let's go to the book of Songs of Solomon, right? Chapter 1. I want to prove that the Israelites are black people, right? Songs of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. It says, I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, right? As the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon, right? Now, I want to look up the curtains of Solomon real fast. Right. So he says curtains of Solomon. No, it's all wrong. Right. Let's see what the curtains of Solomon look like. Put up good images on there. These are the curtains of Solomon. The curtains of Solomon are very dark, right? This is what Solomon was talking about. I'm trying to get a good picture, but ancient tents. That just brought me somewhere that I didn't want to be at. All right, well, not going to see it really, but the curtains of Solomon are really dark tents, basically, right? This right here is the curtains of Solomon, right? So this is what, Solomon was talking about, right? That how dark he's comparing himself to this, right? He says, I am black but comely, O you daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, right? As the curtains of Solomon, right? Now, can a Jewish man say, I am black but comely? No, right? A white man can never say, I am black and comely. Never, right? A white man can never say, I am black and comely, right? Let's see what Job say. Book of Job, chapter 30, and I want verse 30, right? Can a Jewish man say this, right? Just check this out. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burnt with heat. Can a Jewish man, a white man, say that my skin is black upon me? No. Let's look up some more real quick. Lamentation, chapter 5, I believe it's 10. All right. Lamentation chapter 5 and verse 10, it said, our skin was black like the oven because of the terrible famine. Can a Jewish man say that my skin was black like an oven? No, you cannot. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, right? And you read about the tribe of Judah. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 14. It says, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof language. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. So it said they are black unto the ground. What color is the ground? What color is the dirt? Right? It's brown. Right? And they was comparing themselves to the color of the ground. Now, can a Jewish man today say, I am the same color as dirt? Right? Dirt, the soil have melanin and a whole bunch of minerals in it. Right? And what race of people that got melanin in their body? So-called blacks people. We got melanin, right? Black, Hispanic, every other race has melanin in their flesh beside the so-called white man. So the so-called Jewish people, they cannot say that they are the real Jews that the Bible speaks about, because they have no melanin. They was created with no melanin in their flesh. The only race of people that have no history of being black is the Edomites, right? These white people. They had no history. Every other race and nation has a history of being dark-skinned people besides these Edomites, right? The Asiatic race, the Moabites, the Ammonites, right? The Chinese and Japanese, they had history of being dark-skinned people, right? The Arabs, they are dark-skinned people, right? Every other race out here was dark-skinned people besides these Edomites, the white people. They was created with no melanin in their flesh, right? Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 21. And let's go to verse 37, I believe. 37, 30. All right. So this is Paul, right? Paul, he was an Israelite, right? This is Paul, Acts chapter 21, verse 37. It says, and as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee? Who said, can thou speak Greek? Right? It says, art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? So they accused Paul to be an Egyptian. But what color are the Egyptians? They was dark-skinned people. So Paul had to be, so in order to look like an Egyptian, you have to be of the same complexion, right? And the Egyptians were dark-skinned people, right? So Paul had to be dark-skinned. And let's see what Paul said, right? Romans chapter 11 and verse 1, it says, I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. For I am also an Israelite. Paul called himself an Israelite, but yet they thought Paul was a dark Hamite Egyptian, right? It said of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. So Paul was a Benjamite, right? An Israelite, and he was dark-skinned, right? So the Jews are always been dark-skinned people. The Israelites always been dark-skinned people, right? So what are you talking about, Rabbi Shmuley? Right? You're not an Israelite, man. You have no, your lineage does not go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? It goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Esau, right? Let's pull up this information real quick. It says the Negro and the Jews, right? The Negro and the Jews. And let's jump right here. It says Negro claim to be Jewish is legitimate. The land of Israel is located in West Asia and borders on North Africa. All the native inhabitants of the region were non-white. When Spain expelled its Jews in 1492, many of them went to Africa. It seems probable that some of them were brought later to America as slaves. These Jews that was in Spain went to Africa, then later on from Africa went to America as slave, right? The spiritual never sing of African rivers, right? It said it's always the Jordan or the Red Sea, right? They don't sing about African chief because we're not these same people. They are Hamites, right? Or kings. It said it's David or Moses or some other Jewish character from the Bible. So we always spoke about our ancestry, right? We always was praising the Most High and speaking on the things of our ancestors, man. Right? So we're not the same, right? We are not the same people. Sorry, these Jewish people they are not us, man. They are not the real Jews, right? This is the book from Babylon for Timbuktu, right? And let's go to page 84 of this book, and I'll jump to the middle part. It says, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from the Roman persecution in slavery. The slave market were full of black Jewish slaves. The slave market, right, were full of black Jewish slaves. So what are you talking about, Rabbi Shmuley, that you're the real Israelite, you're the real people of the book? You're not the people of the book, right? You're a pretender. Your family's a pretenders, right? You're not the real people, all right? Let's exit out this real quick. So let's pull up the image of our Messiah, right? Revelation chapter 1, and I want to start at verse 13, right? This is what Christ looked like. Christ was a so-called black man, right? He's an Israelite. All right. So it says, in the midst of the seven candlesticks, right, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the path with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Right. So Christ has white woolly hair. What race of people has woolly hair? Right? What race of people has woolly hair? Right? Woolly hair, hair wool. Look at this. It tells you what race of people has woolly hair. I don't see a white woman here yet. Right? Our people has woolly hair. Wool hair. Right? But it was white as snow, right? Like an aged man, right? An elder. And his eyes were the flame of fire, because Christ coming back with fury in his eyes, right? It said, and his feet like unto fine brass, right? Fine brass, as if they was burnt in a furnace, right? Let's look up the image of brass real quick. Right? This is the color of brass, right? Do brass look like it could be compared to a white man? No, it's look like copper brown, right? As if it was burnt in a furnace. Look, burnt brass. Look at this. So Christ was a dark-skinned man, right? A very dark-skinned man. So when he say, Christ is a white man, just look up, watch this. So this is who the world see as Jesus Christ. Sorry. Do this man right here look like he's been burnt? Do this man right here look like a burnt brass? Nope. Put some more images. Come on now, look at this man. This man look effeminate. Look at this man. This is not what we read in Revelation chapter 1 and verse 14 and 15. This man don't has woolly hair. It's not white as snow, right? His eyes not the flame of fire. He probably got greenish eyes, right? His feet, his skin complexion is not, they don't look like a brass that was burnt in a furnace, right? This man have no melanin, right? So how can this man right here be the image of Christ, right? This is a damn pretender, man. So I don't know what Rabbi Shmuley is talking about, right? He's not the real Jew. The real Jews are black people. Let me repeat what he said again.
Okay. And I think finally, that if Candace could just come forward and admit that as a Christian, Jesus said clearly that you cannot approach him except through the Jews. He said that the Jews are the root, and
you're not a Jew, and we don't have to come to you or your nation of people, right, to be saved.
Christians are the branch. The fact that we in the community consider her the #1 anti-Semite in America means that she cannot relate to Jesus. So I'm saying become a Christian. That's a nice, very nice thing to say. The fact that Jesus said, I am sent only to the lost sheep of Israel.
He sent to his own people, which are the so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Americans.
And learn about the Jewish Jesus. You know what, Candace? I'll give you a free copy of my book, Kosher Jesus. It teaches you about the Jewish Jesus. The meek shall inherit the earth. Love your enemies. Turn the other cheek. Don't say, and stop calling me a killer. Stop saying.
Well, they do. They rape, rob, and murder people, man. So yes, you're a killer, right? Y'all finance the slave trade.
I'm trying to kill you. You've said it over and over again. You are saying
y'all came over here in the 1492s, right? In the 1492, as the Conquistadors, right? Coming over here, rape, robbing the natives here, man. Here in America.
I think
Henry II said, rid me of this troublesome priest.
Shmuley, I think we've established you're struggling to find anything nice to say about Candace.
Because he can't speak anything nice, man, because he's a damn devil.
But I appreciate you both coming on together for this debate. I think it's been very illuminating. And thank you for doing it. Thank you for being uncensored.
All right. So that's all I have to speak on about this, man. Like I said, this man, you know, this was a great debate, man, and it really got out of hand, really, if you watch the debate, right? But you should see it. You know, it was great. It was very entertaining. But that's my commentary, my opinion on that whole interview debate. You know, so I hope this, you know, brought up some, you know, gave us some light that these people pretending to be Jews, they are not the real Jews, right? The real Jews are so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Americans. The real Israelites are the Black, Hispanic, Native Americans, man, that the Bible speaks about, right? So that's my opinion on the interview. So I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. I hope this was, this lesson, you know, you can get some good information out of it. You know, it was edifying. So with that, I want to say Shalom.